Here we go. I think I got one.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Good evening. Board Member Brown. Board Member Ferguson.
Present.
Board Member McIntyre.
Clerk,
Here.
roll call.
Good evening. Board Member Williams. Board Member Brown.
Present.
Board Member Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Van Meckel. Board
Here.
Member McIntyre. Chairwoman Fenn. Attendance confirmed.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll have a moment of silence. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 5. Do we have any add-on items for this evening?
No, we do not.
Thank you. We'll move forward to approval of minutes, meeting minutes from April 11th, 2024.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
Moved by Board Member Williams, seconded by Board Member McIntyre. All in favor? Aye.
Do we need to do roll call?
Do we need to do roll call?
Okay.
All in favor is insufficient. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Board Member Ferguson.
Yes.
Board Member McIntyre.
Yes.
Board Member Williams.
Yes.
Board Member Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chair Van Meckel.
Yes.
And it's confirmed.
Thank you. Number 7, public comments related to our agenda items this evening. Do we have any public comments or anyone online today? Seeing none. All right. So we'll go ahead and proceed to resolutions. Madam Attorney.
The first resolution, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the recommendation of the Historic Environmental Preservation Board to issue a special certificate of appropriateness for the structure at 721 Shurar Avenue for the installation of 19 windows and 2 doors on this registered historic property, providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much. Board members, do we have any comments related to this resolution?
Yes, I am curious, are these hurricane proof windows?
To the board, it is this is Gregory Gay, Director of Planning and Community Development. It is my understanding that they are making a 1-for-1 change as it relates to the going with impact windows. As you know, a lot of properties are now upgrading their windows up to impact. And as a part of that process, because it is windows that are maybe of a unique design or some particular type of movement, that it has to be brought before this particular board for consideration. If they are not putting impact windows in, they would have to have some type of additional protection over the windows.
Well, that's really helpful. And I think I just heard you say that it's 1-for-1. So ultimately putting in the same style, so there won't be any stylistic changes, correct?
Correct.
Beautiful. Thank you.
One comment.
Board member Smith?
It would be helpful in the package and if I've overlooked it, please forgive me, but if there were like a picture of the property and maybe a picture of the windows, just so that we could uh, also determine what the appropriateness of the windows are, since we're voting on them. I don't know if that's.
We will make sure that if it's not included in the package, it will be going forward.
Thank you.
I do believe there are diagrams of the windows at the end of there's like configuration.
Okay, yeah, but I can't see the house that they're gonna put them in. That's what. Yeah.
Yes. And we'll definitely make sure that there's a photograph of the property that's included in the package.
Thank you.
Any other comments, board members? Before we place a vote? Just for clarity, this had come before the board at some point, right? Did that permit expire, or is this a first application for this? Because I know she had made a submission before.
It's my understanding this is their second application, or it was a different item at the time. If you'd like to get some further details, I believe Mr. Lee processed this particular application, so he can answer any of the questions that would be detailed for this particular property.
That was the only question I had, unless you wanted to expand on anything. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm very excited about this home, affectionately the Helms House. There's a lot of history and details going into its historical narrative right now, so it's really nice to see this level of investment being made, and I know the homeowner is very excited to proceed. So without further comment, if I can get a motion
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Williams, seconded by Board Member McIntyre. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Board Member Ferguson,
Approved.
Board Member McIntyre,
Yes.
Board Member Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Van Meckel,
Yes.
item approved.
I would like to second Mr. Smith's suggestion that photos be included in the applications. That will help us a great deal.
Yes, ma'am, we'll definitely do that.
All right, Madam Attorney, second resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the recommendation of the Historic Environmental Preservation Board to issue a special certificate of appropriateness for the structure at 806 Jan Avenue to allow for the installation of photovoltaic solar system on the roof of this registered historic property, providing for an effective date. I think you might want to recuse yourself.
For the record, seeing that this is my residence and property, I'm recusing myself from this vote and will step down for the board's deliberation. And I turn it over to Board Member Williams.
Got it. Okay. Any questions? Are there any questions on the item? So I do have a question. Will you be able to actually see the solar panels, or are they flat to the roof so that if you're passing by the house, you wouldn't be able to see them?
That is a very good question. A lot of the historical properties, in most cases, have some type of parapet or some type of decorative roof that's on the front end of the home. This particular property is located on the south side of the block. Because of the nature of how solar panels are installed, there is a likelihood that you might be able to see a portion of them. The solar panels will be facing toward the southern atmosphere because of the sun angles and how they shift during the winter and in the summertime. So I don't know if they were the kind that will be adjustable based on the pitch of the solar panels. But in most cases, they will be tilted toward the south end, the lower part being toward the front and the upper part being toward the back. So
Got it.
there's a chance that you could see it from the public right away.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any other questions on this item? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, moved by Board Member
Smith.
Smith. Thank you so much. And seconded by Board Member McIntyre. Roll call, please.
Board Member Ferguson,
So approved.
Board Member McIntyre,
yes,
Board Member Williams,
Yes.
and Board Member Smith.
Yes.
Item passed.
Thank you so much. Welcome back to the board. Congratulations on your permit approval.
Alrighty then. Thank you, board members. We'll proceed to item 10, discussions and presentations. I assume staff would like to provide some updates related to some activities happening here in the city.
Yes, unfortunately, we did not have them listed on the agenda itself, but there are a few items that we would like to highlight. One being that there is a national conference that is going on in West Palm Beach. I believe it's starting on Wednesday and going through Sunday. I believe Board Member McIntyre is going to be participating, and she so graciously paid for our registration to attend that particular conference. So we would like to find out from the board if there are any other members who are going to be attending the conference. We are trying to figure out whether we may need to send a staff member to be a part of that particular activity as well. And we're right at a slightly busy time where there's a lot of activities going on. So I'm not quite sure if staff is going to be able to be. Well, I know staff won't be able to be at the entire conference. We would like to try to be there at least for a day or a half day. And we're trying to figure out that schedule right now. So
I am
Board
not going to be
McIntyre.
able to go in person as it turns out.
mhm.
And there is a registration fee for the city, which has not been used. So it's available for your staff person.
Okay, very well. Being that the staff may or may not be able to attend, I would like to see if there may be some board members who may be interested in attending the conference.
First of all, not to hijack what you're saying, thank you for the segue. I want to give a shout out to Board Member McIntyre for taking lead and personally contributing for this. City of Opa-locka and its historic board are faithfully represented, not just in advertisements within their entire program guide, but also part of the overall sponsors listed visually of the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, which meets every so many years. And they selected West Palm Beach in Florida this year for their convening. So this is a wonderful inclusion. Board member, a legend as always. Thank you for getting ahead of that and having our name put in there so wonderfully. To add to that, and just by chance, I, in my independent preservation activist capacity, pitched a session about Opa-locka and its preservation activities many months ago before this came to be. And they accepted my proposal. And so I'm actually giving a lecture about Opa-locka's history. And it's from an inventory standpoint in archiving and documenting our historic sites on Sunday at noon. It's the last day of the conference and it happens to be the last session, but I'm happy it's on the program. So echoing Mr. Gay's encouragement and with Board Member McIntyre's update related to her not unfortunately being able to attend, if any of you are able to, the program is wonderful. There are so many different sessions related to resiliency, restoration, oral histories, overlays of districting, infill design. It's abundant, and I feel like this is going to be an incredible knowledge base to be able to tap into. And I'm going as an attendee in addition to being a speaker on Sunday. So if any of you are able to attend, this is a wonderful show of support for Opa-locka to be in-house. So
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend with it's a little too short notice for unfortunately my calendar, but I do wonder if there's no one up here who is interested attending. I do wonder, and even if there are folks within the with your team who are unable to attend, I wonder if it's possible to expand it to other folks within the city. And then I also wonder, does it make sense to expand this opportunity to some of our commissioners, just with the idea that, like, I'm sure that there's a whole lot that they can learn from this conference. And so if we, I understand that folks are busy right now, but if there is an opportunity for us to extend this to some other folks who might be able to learn from this opportunity, I definitely think we should consider doing that. But again, thank you so much, Dolly, for extending this to us. It's wonderful.
yeah,
I'm interested,
Oh,
But I would-
beautiful.
but I'd like to know a little bit more information. Is there anything, there wasn't anything in the package or anything I overlooked?
not in this
No,
package,
not
but
in
if,
Wherever I can find it, just tell me.
yeah, we can send between board member McIntyre, who has that registration information, to
Okay.
the program guide. Happy to share that with you.
And the dates it's happening or?
Yeah, so it starts officially tomorrow, Wednesday, the 31st of July, and then it goes until Sunday. The bulk of programming related to sessions you'd be interested in attending that are still open in terms of capacity is from Friday to Sunday. Most of it's happening Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday are the big open ones. The others are more for closed groups.
Yeah,
All right, well,
yeah, happy to. I'm very excited about that. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay.
Okay. The next item, I know we've had some discussions regarding our certificate of appropriateness and the process that we follow right now. As you all may know, the way the rules and regulations for certificate of appropriateness basically is written in such a way that just about anything and everything that deals with a historic property is brought before this board. We're still analyzing to see how we can modify our process, and we would like to introduce that as an item, hopefully for our next historic preservation board, to basically say for particular groupings of types of minor repairs and things of that nature, they will go through an administrative certificate of appropriateness process that will actually be handled through my staff. And then for things that are larger and more significant, those items will be brought before the board. So we're trying to just finalize the details on that. And we're going to be bringing you a full presentation at our next Historic Preservation Board meeting.
Have you by chance been in touch with the Coral Gables Preservation Board? Because they have, I think, a pretty good setup for review by the staff.
Mhm.
What's to be staff and what's to be board. So that might give you some guidelines if you need them.
Thank you. I believe we have a copy of that we're using to basically as a template for what we'd like to establish here.
To add to that, I know, and thank you for bringing it up. I think it's incredibly important. I can't say I was, well, I was surprised that solar panels fall in that realm, and perhaps we'll see where that goes in the near future. But needless to say, I remember us receiving and at least initially discussing the county's matrix, which is possibly what Coral Gables has either adopted, amended, but the county's already kind of bifurcated administrative versus board in a chart form. So, and then we briefly talked about some additions, edits, amendments that we would make here in Opa-locka related to carport designs, or we touched on it recently, but I think it's worth revisiting with Sarah Cody. And as board member McIntyre said, Coral Gables for the matrix that they have, because I was eager for us to streamline our processes for historic properties and permits.
Definitely. Any questions in regards to that? Okay. And last but certainly not least, and I know a number of people are probably happy to know this, that our historic preservation grant is out on the street. It's actually available for those people who have a historic home. And I believe our staff even took the liberty to hand deliver those particular items to each of the properties. So I'd like to thank them for taking the effort to get them into everybody's hands for those who are looking to do some improvements for their homes. So that grant is already out. We should be receiving that information back sometime during the month of August, 1st of September, so that we can make the proper evaluations for that and bring that forth before this board and before the city commission for a recommendation of approval.
Kudos to the team on that. That's really exciting to hear. I know that you all put a lot of work into that. And so it's exciting to see that finally come to fruition. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the work that these homeowners do with that money. So congratulations.
And I think if my memory doesn't serve me wrongly at this point in time, I believe there is an additional pool of money that's being fronted or forwarded through the 10 North Group, formerly known as the Opa-locka Community Development Corporation. They have matched the grant amount that the city has, which is $100,000. So there would be not just $100,000, but $200,000. We're working through the details on how to receive those particular dollars right now, but that's going to definitely significantly help a lot of historic properties within the city.
That's huge. Congratulations. And one of the things, I don't know if we've talked about it as a historic preservation board, but I've heard the commission say this in the past. I think we talked about it maybe at our last meeting, that oftentimes the boards are not going up and providing reports to the commission about what's happening. I think there are a couple of amazing things that are happening on this board. And I like this update that you just gave us, I think would be a reason for us to go up. And so Vice Chair, not sure if that's something that you want to take on, but I definitely think that this warrants an update to our board or to our commission.
I would love that. So long as, it's clear that I would love, if possible, the entire board to be present for that and show up alongside. And also within whatever legal parameters are needed to give input on whatever the proposed presentation is, because I think we're long overdue, and I'm so happy you brought that up. We're long overdue of giving the city commission a snapshot of our historical identity as it stands in 2024. And with the work that the University of Florida staff and students did to document a lot of the conditions of our historic properties, registered and unregistered and otherwise, is not just valuable. I think it's very critical for us when we talk about justifying $100,000 of a general fund allotment coming out of city money to help support and save our historic structures. And so, yes, I would be more than happy to work on that and benchmark a goal of maybe by September to be able to do that alongside each of you and staff. But going back to the grant, I want to stress, we've been talking, I think it's going on 1.5 years about a grant. I cannot, from my words as a historic homeowner and in all that I've done in advocating for Opa-locka's heritage, both past and present, I cannot thank you guys, the city attorney, and of course the city commission for finally getting this through to the point where it's codified, it's acknowledged, it was hand delivered by staff. I know that it was hand delivered and I nearly cried because of it. And it's a reason to get emotional for one sole purpose and that is that most municipalities that have historic boards or historic districts do not prioritize, acknowledge the potential of, or even enact laws or set aside budgets for activities related to this. The opportunity for a historic homeowner, someone that's a steward of a city's long-lasting legacy to have any amount of money, let alone what this allotment may or may not look like, is extraordinary. And it's not to be missed as a wonderful public relations opportunity that I think that the city's PR firm should seize and be closely following, and continuing to celebrate through all the city channels exactly what this is going to do from start to finish. So for those paying attention and to staff, just thank you so much for helping to get this through and fully realize something that just does not happen in the day-to-day. It does happen in communities and organizations and municipalities like St. Augustine and Tampa have successfully done this. But the way that we've modeled it and the way that we're enacting a level of detail to be put into 4 projects that will be transformative, it's going to be game changing, and people are going to see the difference it has in having a neighbor in a historic property have this done to their parcel. So thank you for, continuing the good work and paying homage to those that came before us that established this board and tried to do this many years ago and were not, for whatever reason, successful back then. I'm really excited about this. I did have a question just related to who the applications did go to. I know that, and I can't recall what the criteria stated specifically about registered versus non-registered, but I understood, if I recall correctly, that if it was a non-registered historic home, that in order to potentially be considered, they would have to agree to getting a marker put on. So 2 parts. How many homes were given this? It doesn't have to be one or another, historic designated or not. And where are we at in terms of any considerations for new markers? Because we have now also another newsworthy moment for historic activities here. The commission in, I believe it was end of May, approved the designation of the Harry Hurt House at 305 Dunad. And it's time to pop a bottle and celebrate that, because it's the first time in 3 decades that we've had a historically designated landmark. And this just happens to be the home of one of the first of 8 council members of Opa-locka. So I'm just curious to know how many homes were given this application, how long they have until they can apply to, and just markers in general. But it would be nice to know how soon we can get the Harry Hurt House a historic plaque, which also merits a presentation at a commission meeting.
I'm gonna have Mr. Solomon Fancoli. He has pretty much been shepherding this particular process from its onset, and I credit him with getting it to the finish line because he was dogmatic about the entire process. He stayed on top of us. He even urged the manager on numerous occasions to move forward with it. I know we kind of moved back and forth with the amounts that were being offered and the number of properties to be addressed. So I'll have him kind of go into the details of that.
Great. One second, we're just making sure we have your mic on. Like, capture the moment. Are we good? Okay.
Saul Bencoli, board members, economic development with the community development under the auspices of Director Gay of Planning, Zoning, and Community Development. Yes, we've come a long way to this point, and because of how long it took us to get here, we said Director Gay thinks it will be appropriate to actually hand deliver this to expedite, and that's the reason why we went outside to hand deliver it. About 30 historical homes, registered homes. We are thinking about having additional homes based on going through the phases of the criteria to be registered. And the process we take from summer to the end of maybe in the fall, and then they will start processing, and then review internally and bring the recommendation before the board, for recommendation, and then it goes back to the commission.
Thank you for that. Do the monies that have been allotted and carried over from the year prior, does it then carry over again into, I assume these projects would start in the spring or summer of next year?
Yes, it will. The $100,000 will be carried over to the first following fiscal year. Yeah, that's correct.
Great.
And my understanding that there's additional match from another source that we haven't really documented, but that's what we anticipate. So rather than qualifying for four homes, it will now be 8 homes covering 200,000 in total.
Or more, depending on the costs.
Yes.
For the applications. Wonderful. Board members, did you have questions about this item of the grant program? That's good. And related to historic plaques, either for the Harry Hurt House to start, because that's something that is just pending that commemorative
The
moment.
the plaque we will dialogue with Director Gay after this session, hopefully tomorrow, and then we'll update the board as to how far we're going and what direction we're heading as far as the 305 denied is concerned.
Excellent. Board members, did you just related to historic plaques? I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with the previous design or copy, but more or less it's a rectangular design that says this place is registered on the Opa-locka Historic Registry from the city of Opa-locka. Basically, it says Opa-locka twice, but it's more or less that. They followed the National Park Service design from many years back. Did any of you have any thoughts on what a 2024-2025 newly minted plaque could look like? Do we keep and sustain what was started 30 plus years ago? Do we seize this opportunity of trying something different? And for those that have lost their plaques, and there's a handful of those, we re-gift them. Any thoughts? Board Member Smith?
Well, since I have a plaque on my own house, a couple of things that were added to the plaque were, number one, the year the house was built and the year it was designated, and the architect. Of course, most of the historical houses I know will be Bernhard Muller, but it would be nice just to have it, recorded, and also the city seal if possible. And it doesn't really take up a lot of space. I mean, mine's like a 5x7 size plaque or something.
Great feedback. Any other
Yeah.
board member?
When I lived in Coral Gables, I had a plaque on my house and it was ceramic. And I'm trying to find a picture to show you. But when I first came on this board, I submitted a grant to the villagers for them to fund the creation of a plaque design and making 10 or 20 of them for this board to give out to sites that were already listed. At that time, they turned down the grant because they didn't think we were quite ready. And I think they were probably right. But it's possible to get a grant to do the plaques. I think the quoted price of $430 for a bronze plaque is a little high. The ceramic plaques are much less expensive and could certainly incorporate the Opa-locka logo and landmark designation in that design.
Great feedback. And those Coral Gables crests evocative of the Spanish Mediterranean design are really interesting to look at as you walk up to a home, and it's slightly less intrusive texturally, and it's more decorative in nature. So that's certainly an idea. Oh yeah. This is the Coral Gables design.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm familiar with our current design, which I think is fine. I think if we were to update the plaques, I'd love to see us do it moving forward. I don't feel the need to go back and like replace every single plaque right now. If for some reason a plaque comes off, then we can replace it with the updated design. So for a bit, we might actually have like two separate designs. But I think what we have is suitable. And I think I would just add that I don't feel a strong need right now for this to be a priority. I know that the team has a lot that they're working on. This does not feel like a high priority to me.
Board Member Brown, any comments? No. Just to pick up where Board Member McIntyre had alluded to, a brass plaque of the same design and makeup or material is hovering around $450. I quoted it from a few sources. So I did my own procurement method, and they're all coming in more or less at the same kind of cost. So these are great suggestions. The only thing I would say is I don't want to miss the moment of really following up with our homeowner at 305 Dunad for her historic designation. So I'm happy to hold on the larger disbursement, if you will, of other plaques. But this one seems particularly time sensitive and critical in the larger narrative that we're working to bolster our activities. This is a win for here and now that we have yet to promote truly. That now with the PR firm being with the city can certainly seize this opportunity. But also I think it's a great segue in parlaying off of the grant program too. So I would like for there to be an immediate consideration of plaque design so that we can, I want us to be thoughtful about it, of course, assuming we have a budget to be able to afford something like this, and perhaps the villages might be able to assist in this sense. But the Harry Hurd House, I think, this is a monumental moment. I don't want us to forget that we actually did this. And for the record, Miami Shores had their first, Board Member Smith would know because it was his house, but if I'm not mistaken, your mid-century Mimo designed home was the first in Miami Shores' historic district in 27 years. Following that designation, they got a headline in the Miami Herald about the community's fight to preserve their architectural and historic identity. Another reason why we shouldn't miss this moment and take it upon ourselves to put out a good narrative coming out of Opa-locka, and then a larger story could possibly roll out related to the grant program as my suggestion. So, Mr. Bencoli, thank you for continuing to fight and advocate for this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And anything that we can do as a board in regards to outreach to homeowners. Hopefully you get an abundance of applications with interesting ideas. The only thing I would like to be of service to you and staff for is that historic homeowners need to know more or less what they want to restore. And sometimes they do not have the actual resource in the form of an original photograph or elevation drawing to know what that feature may or may not have been. I had provided in the past all the digitized elevation drawings from the University of Miami that are accessible. If there's anything in question of the applications you've received of any home that is proposing a specific idea that you're unsure merits restoration, if it was in fact even originally on the house, we have almost all of the original historic home drawings, which is to our benefit as a program and as a resource. And it's indisputable. So that dome, that minaret, that pointed archway is written, designed by the original architect, and I have that to be able to resurface to match that against the applications that you'll receive. So
All right.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
thank you guys. There was no other I think we kind of transitioned to item 10 board comments, but there was nothing else related to any updates related to historic city halls restoration, just for the board's awareness.
I have some information, but I don't want to kind of get it incorrect. So what we can do at the next board meeting, and I know that they're working on a very aggressive timeline to complete that particular project. Definitely before the end of this year. I heard dates of somewhere around October of having the a majority of the work completed. I can have our capital improvement manager come and make a presentation at your next meeting in September.
That
So-
would be
so-
great.
So that way you'll know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think just general awareness would be great because it's hard not to pass by the building today and get excited. It quite literally looks like a new building, a new old building.
Mhm.
And it's a proud moment for Opa-locka to have achieved. So any update would be great. Board members, any final comments?
When I read through the minutes of the last meeting, there were a number of unanswered questions. And I'd just like to bring those up for future answers. The certified local government application, the 2024 Tree City, the updated website, urban forestry update, the bird sanctuary, Sesame Street property that was being demolished by neglect, and rules on criteria for board members.
Those are all things that we've been aggressively working on. Some of them are very close to being finalized, and we just want to make sure that we dotted the i's and crossed the t's so before we make the presentation to you. So we will be bringing that information forth at the next meeting.
I echo Board Member McIntyre's interest in hearing about those, and I stress that anything we can do as a board to be of assistance, please let us know. The one thing I did want to add to is a resolution to amend the count of board members that we have. At it currently stands with 9, and us struggling to reach quorum at times. Thank you, board members. This has not been a recent issue, but nevertheless, I think we need to level set with how other boards are constructed, and we've discussed it publicly. I think it's worth revisiting, because as I understand, we will be losing one of our valued board members, with Miss Nikisha Williams going to another area of service. And I just want to say thank you for your time here on the board, Board Member Williams. You have been very insightful, and you've added a critical level of examination and detail to our efforts here on the Historic and Environmental Board. So please don't leave. Please always feel free to come back and give us your comments, and thank you for your service. To that effect, we have vacancies on this board that need to be filled, but we also need to revisit the total count of our board. So if we can bring that back as soon as possible, as administrative and mundane as that is, I think it's really important for us to just stick the course and be efficient with our quorum situation.
Absolutely. That's one of the items that Board Member McIntyre had as one of the questions, and we're just about 90% ready to present that and get it out of the way. So in September, we will be presenting that for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
So I have 2 items. Yes, two items. So one, I just want to make this group aware that so as we know, there are a handful of homes that are historic, but they don't have the historic designation. My house is one of those. And in fact, my house is a bit of a carbon copy. There are at least three or four homes that look exactly like it. And there's a home that is, I believe, 1046 Jan Avenue. And they are doing some work on that property. And my concern is we will continue to lose our historic properties. And so one, I've not done any research. I don't know what permitting even looks like if these folks have gone through permits, but I just wonder, what are we doing to make sure that even though there are some homes here that don't have the historic preservation, historic designation, how do we make sure that we're holding on to them? And so I just want to flag that this is something that's happening in real time. This home has been under construction now for at least 3-ish weeks. And I happened to talk to someone who was doing some work over there, and they explained to me that they're planning to pull something out. I think what was it? They're planning to pull the chimney out, and I tried to convince them that they shouldn't, but they actually don't have to, follow any rules. They can do whatever they want to with the house because it does not have historic designation. I just want to, again, bring this to the board. If we are talking about historic preservation, there are a handful of homes that don't have that designation, and therefore those homes can be lost quite quickly when someone comes in and decides to do a little bit of work. And then second, I think I said this at the last meeting, but I just want to continue to remind us that part of our charter is thinking about not just historic preservation, but also, I believe, the environment and trees. And there is a huge effort right now, not just nationally, but locally, being led by Jane Gilbert down at the county to make sure that we are planting trees because there, as we know, as we all feel already, it is getting hotter every single season, and trees can help combat that. And so I know that we spend so much time on this board talking about historic preservation, but I would really love it if at some point we really start to talk about the tree shade and what we can do as a board to help that. I know that our city commission, they are doing a handful of things as well, but I would love to see this board have conversations and this board push, because I'm going to forget what the designation is, but we are an area that has a lot of extra heat compared to other parts of Miami-Dade County, and we can combat this by planting trees. And so there's a lot that can be done. There are a lot of resources that exist, again, not just at the city level, but at the county level and also nationally. And so would love to see this board just pick that up and have more conversations about it.
Just to let you know, we were able to update our designation as a tree city. So we are a Tree City USA going to 2024, 2025 year. That was an application, and they've kind of changed their process. Before you just had to apply one time. Now you have to do an annual update. So we have to be a lot more hands-on and basically give a report as to how many trees have been planted, how many, trees were saved, how many trees were transplanted, and give a full report as to how we're addressing that as an overall issue within the city. So we have to look at it a little bit more extensively. We are down one staff member right now. Hopefully that'll change over the next during the new fiscal year. And once we're there, that person will be assigned to addressing those particular concerns.
Wonderful. Thank you for that update.
Hey, one comment. I think it was myself and Ms. McIntyre. I think it was myself and Ms. McIntyre that spoke about it before. Along with the trees that they are planning to plant, we made a suggestion. The palm trees look pretty good, but more shade trees, because like it was said before, the palm trees, they're beautiful, but they provide no shade for anyone. So I think it's more shade trees that really do need to be planted instead of the palm trees. Although they look beautiful, we have in this area here, we have a lot of older people also. So the shade tree will be much better than the palm trees. Yeah. Just bring that forward.
in just a few days period. Regardless of whether or not that was permitted, it's questionable, to say the least, to how they expedited such a rapid turnaround on quite an engineering feat to have rebuilt an entire side of this historic home. Part of what I would like to learn more about at NAPC, and I've been hearing from others in other historic communities and boards and attorneys, is what does it look like to pursue as a historic board, as a municipality, historic designation of a home without the homeowner's consent, which is obviously not ideal. You don't want to create an adversary sort of relationship with homeowners, but and I'm always in favor of forging those relationships before anything and getting consent. But it is an interesting question to raise, and I just hope that when permits come through for some homes, and hopefully it is permitted, quite frankly, that the ones that don't have designation are being looked at just a slight bit closer because we also have historic homes abandoned with no roofs on them. So needless to say, it was concerning to see this one property in particular. The last thing that we want is for a project like that to go unnoticed, unchecked, and for the new occupants, since they're likely selling the house, to walk themselves into a situation of having questionable work having been done and masked, so to speak, which may or may not be happening here. So thank you, board member, for your comment related to that. Board member Smith, any final comments? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining this evening. Thank you, staff, for all of your updates and work, truly. And without further ado, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.